to hear them speak. And I truly feel they're incredibly sincere in what they're doing. One is former head of Statistics Canada, whose ethics and integrity are unquestionable. The other is a former MPP, as well as head of United Way in Toronto. I'd like you to join me in giving a warm welcome to the commissioners of the Social Assistance Review, Dr. Reveiw-Hamilton and Ms. Reveiw.
Thank you for the warm welcome, and it truly is a pleasure and honor for Francis and me to be here today to join your conversations. The way we have split our task, I am going to speak at this time. At the end of our discussions, Francis is going to wrap things up for you. I think the review that we have committed to do is perhaps one of the largest that has been taken in this province in about 20 years. We have been given a very broad mandate to look at a range of issues. The mandate that we have been given to review the system is quite broad, and at the same time it is pretty precise. The 5 issues that you are going to be talking about, they are in our terms of reference, and the reason why the terms of reference are the way they are, broad but at the same time fairly precise, is because the government would like us to deliver fairly concrete, practical and applicable proposals to improve the system. We have been to 2 cities so far. We have been to Windsor and to London, engaged in the same kind of exercise that we are here for today. And it is quite clear to us that there is unanimity on a few things already. One, that the system needs to be changed quite substantially. There is not a view out there that we can do a small fixes in the current system and make it quite efficient. That is not my understanding of what I've heard. Secondly, what we have heard is that the system has become quite complex. It is very difficult to navigate, and it probably isn't achieving any of the objectives for which a social assistance system should be set up for. And so we obviously would like to hear your thoughts on what do you think are the solutions to the challenges that we face. In terms of what is it that we would hope at the end of the day, at the end of the evening, to hear from you in addition to what I've just said, there are a couple of things that we have asked in the discussion paper for you to reflect upon. One is, please tell us whether we have got the analysis right. We have indicated in the paper that we'd like to hear your thoughts on whether we have understood the issues, whether we have missed certain things. So in a sense, we like some kind of a validation as to whether or not we are on the right track in thinking about the challenges. And second, of course, is solutions to the problem in the 5 areas. It is going to be pretty important for us as we visit from community to community to see if we can get people to agree on certain things, in a sense converge on a set of recommendations, because if we don't agree on certain things as communities, governments would find it pretty hard to implement whatever we propose. So please keep that in mind. There are many trade-offs in the issues that we discuss. If there weren't any trade-offs, the system would have been fixed long time ago. The reason why it hasn't been fixed is that while solutions at one level may seem fairly simple, in some circumstances those solutions simply shift the problem to some other place, and governments cannot ignore that shifting. Some individuals may be able to say, here's my issues, please deal with it. But if it creates an issue somewhere else, that is not a simple solution. I'll give you an example of that, which is in the discussion paper. In the case of the benefit structure, it, I think, is fairly straightforward that the adequacy of benefits is really quite important. I mean, we have seen a video which shows how much does it cost for someone to have a decent living. Okay, if one just thought about that, it isn't such a complex issue to raise the benefit levels. But if you look at the kind of labor market that we have today, and it is moving constantly in that direction, we find that the kinds of jobs that are being created, low wage, precarious, seasonal kind of stuff, people move from employment to employment. If that is the state of the labor market for a lot of jobs where people are living below the poverty line, then dealing with a benefit structure challenge in that kind of labor market, when somebody even getting a full-time job is having difficulty, is not a small issue. And so please help us out. We are counting on your help to deal with these complex issues. But I'm quite confident that with support from the communities and their advice, we would make a difference in the end. And so we are looking forward to your contribution and your recommendations. As has been said before, the process doesn't end here today in Hamilton. It will go on, and we will be quite keen to keep hearing from you as to what kind of progress you're making in your thoughts on these issues. And so best of luck, and at the end of the day, the evening, Francis, back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Just some people we want to thank, the people who did bring you all together, and first and foremost, thank you all for coming. This is an impressive number of people. It's a full Webster room. Thank you to the round table, first and foremost. You can applaud as I mention them. The Social Planning Council, thank you. The Campaign for Adequate Welfare and Disability Benefits, thank you. 25 and 5 Hamilton, thank you. Hamilton's Legal Clinic and the many, many others, thank you. I would like to call up now Howard Elliott, who is your fairly new chair of the Hamilton Roundtable for Poverty Reduction, to thank the commissioners now. Howard?
Thank you, Jason. I'll be very, very brief because I know you want to get down to the real work of the evening, but I didn't want to miss this opportunity to make sure that you all know a couple of things. Obviously, as Jason said, we hugely appreciate the fact that you've all taken time out to come tonight. This really is a golden opportunity. But I also want to thank the commissioners. They've already put in an impressive day of work here. They've been to the legal clinic, they went to Good Shepherd, they met with the Specs editorial board, and I can tell you that they're they listen very actively and they're very engaged, and I would encourage all of us to take advantage of that golden opportunity. So commissioners, thank you very much for being with us in Hamilton today, and folks, good luck with the work you're about to set up. Thank you.
Just feel it's appropriate to, just before Laura makes another introduction, to tell you what we were up to first thing this morning about 10 hours ago when the General Issues Committee met. This is the meeting, for those who don't know, of the council as a whole. It used to be called Committee of a Whole, where we really debate and talk and hash out a lot of very important issues across the city, and ultimately bring those issues to council for the final vote. But all of the debating goes on at these, what we call GICs. And this morning, first on the agenda, and I referenced that I did see Tom much earlier, council voted in favor to do three things, and I hope you'll like the direction council is heading in with these recommendations. Number 1, write to the Premier, the Minister of Community and Social Services, and the Commissioners of the Provincial Social Assistance Review endorsing Dr. Kubersi's report to them. Number 2, write to the Premier, the Minister of Community and Social Services, and the Commissioners of the Provincial Social Assistance Review, stressing the need for an evidence-based mechanism for setting social assistance rates that will meet basic needs and allow individuals and families to live with dignity. And number 3, direct that the Economic Development Department of the City of Hamilton report back to Council regarding the incorporation of community economic development strategies and pro-poor economic development strategies as a necessary and vital part of the overall economic development policy, and that staff develop their report in consultation with stakeholders and experts in the community. And I believe there was an addendum as well, but I can't make out your writing, and it was 10 hours ago. I'll figure that out and get back to you. It just, I wanted to point out that I think Council is heading in certainly the right direction on this issue. Laura?
My paper disappeared. I need my paper. At this time, we're going to begin our presentations, and I've gotten to hear a lot of these people today. You'll find what they have to say incredibly intriguing. So with no further ado, I'd like to call up Peter Hutton, Chair, Roundtable for Poverty Reduction Social Assistance Reform Work Group, and Sandy Leyland, a longtime member of the Poverty Roundtable, to introduce the next segment of our evening.
Okay, and these things, never as prepared as you would like to be. So bear with me for a second. It's been a crazy day. I wanted to do a couple of procedural things. I won't get into thanks since people have sort of preempted me on that, but I wanted to make sure that everybody in the room had one of these purple sheets and picked one up from the tables as they were coming in, as well as a workbook. Because the first thing I want to say to you is we do have this committee, and Lord, I wish we had a shorter name for it. But we have this committee. It's a working group of the roundtable, but it's open, and so we're going to keep at this. And one of the things we're hoping from tonight is that there will be new faces and new ideas that come to the table as this process continues. This process will continue. The commissioners will be at it right through to this time, almost to this time next year. So there's a lot of work still to go ahead. So it's really important that you have this, because we have some suggestions on the back of the sheet of things that you can do, ways that we can try to help you continue to input into the process. You have the workbooks tonight. You can write comments on the workbooks and give them to us. We'll give them to the commission staff right tonight. If you want to take it away and use it, bring it back to us later. There's ways that you can do this, as well as ways that you can contact the commission on this sheet. So we do encourage people to continue to get involved. The index cards that are on your table, if you would like to be involved and put on a contact list for this work, we encourage you to write your contact information on those cards, and those will be collected along with any questions that you might want to ask. And the other thing, I guess it wasn't mentioned, was we will endeavor to get answers to questions to people if they identify themselves, and we'll keep that part of it confidential, but if you identify yourself and the question isn't asked tonight, we will endeavor to get you an answer at some point along the way. I'm going to hasten along because I know we've been running under the time gun all the time, and the working group, and maybe what I wanted to do, I wanted to ask all the members of the working group who are here in the room to stand right now so people can see who they are. We encourage you to talk to them over the course of the evening about how we possibly get further involved. And the second piece with that, and relapse, pardon me. One principle for this evening that group really wanted was we wanted people, as many people, to have a chance to get their input as possible. It's always difficult within a short period of time, but we're trying. We hope that you bear with us. And my last task for you, what you're going to hear in a few minutes are 4 or 5 personal stories that reflect the issues that people in Hamilton have been working on. Everything from living wage through to reforms of the Ontario Child Benefit, reforms around something special, it's very special to people here in Hamilton, the Personal Needs Allowance, the rates board, and the whole question of education supports, particularly for students living in families receiving assistance. Those are just some of the areas that have been talked about. I know it's not inclusive, but that's what's coming. My last task is to introduce the topic. I was thinking about this earlier today. It frightens me to say that I can remember starting on this stuff in 1984 and participating in marches across this province. One started in Sudbury, one started in Windsor, and one started in Ottawa, of people who converged on Queen's Park demanding social assistance reform, which sparked the then Peterson government of the day to do the transitions report, which was, as the commissioners have said, the last major review of social assistance in this province. So I feel a little decrepit, and having been at this for that length of time, but it also gives me an insight into what's happened in this community. It was in 2001 that advocates in this community gathered around the question of homelessness. Yes, can never say that. And out of a big consultation, what came along? Well, another god-awful name, the Homeless Initiative Campaign for Adequate Welfare, HICFA. That's 10 years ago in this community that people started advocating that social assistance rates were too low. Where are we today? We're still advocating for it. And the message that our working group wanted to convey to the Commission more than anything else is that we see addressing the adequacy of rates as something that has to happen in the first part. You have to find a chain to get through the complication. And addressing that in a comprehensive way, not necessarily by just simply raising the benefits, but by addressing how all of the different benefits fit together to give people the ability to make their own decisions, is absolutely paramount to us in any kind of sustainable system. You're going to hear more, as I said. The second piece to that, I suppose, is another elder moment. I'm going to leave that because I've lost my train. That's crucial, and if we don't address it, okay, forget that. I think maybe what I'm going to do is leave my comments there. What I want to do right now is introduce the first of our speakers, who is Sadie Leland, who is a member of our working group, to give sort of some initial personal reflection on again that issue, the paramount nature of why we need to address assistance rates. So, Sandy.
Hi, I'm Sandy.